Hi, everyone. Welcome to Curriculum Night. My name is Mary Fitterer, and I am the department head for the math department at Framingham High School. I wanted to talk to you just about some of the options that students will have entering ninth grade next year. Very typically, students will enter into either geometry or algebra 1 when they come into ninth grade. So students who are taking geometry as ninth graders should have already completed algebra 1 in middle school. So I'm going to start with the geometry classes and then talk about algebra 1 and then finally talk about some of the electives. So for ninth graders that are going to be taking geometry, they will be either in geometry honors or geometry ACP. So honors is our highest level of classes that we have other than AP, which won't happen until later on. And the main difference I would say between honors and ACP is just applications of the problems. So I think we'll be going more in depth about certain topics and objectives, and students will be expected to do a lot more independently as far as learning the concepts and then taking those concepts and maybe doing a problem that they haven't seen before, where geometry ACP would be a little bit more straightforward, would be sort of kind of teaching the concepts, teaching how to apply them on specific problems. In a typical year, all of our classes should have probably somewhere between 15 and 45 minutes of homework per night. But I would say the majority of the time that homework is expected to take 30 minutes or less. So if a student is kind of in the level that's the most appropriate for them, no matter what that level is, their homework should be about half an hour a night on average. Some nights you won't have homework, some nights it might take longer. So that's not to say that homework never takes longer than that. But I would say that should be typical for a student who is placed correctly in their class. So there's certainly the difference between honors and ACP is not more work. It's higher level thinking, higher level problems, kind of expanding, going more in depth on topics. If you were to take the geometry track to start off in ninth grade, if you can look at the top two rows I kind of have pulled up here, your 10th grade class would be Algebra 2. 11th grade would be pre-calculus, and during that you would have the option to also take AP Statistics. And then senior year, you would take calculus, and you could also take a number of electives. You could take AP Stats then, and we've got a lot of various electives that are listed here. If you have not taken Algebra 1 yet and are going to be taking Algebra 1 in ninth grade, which is the typical track, I think, for most ninth graders, we have 3 levels of Algebra 1. Algebra 1 honors would be for students who did really well in their 8th grade math class and have kind of like really progressed through middle school and are ready for an honors level course. So kind of similar to what I was saying about geometry is that we would go more in depth. Some of the problems are harder. We're doing more applications, kind of taking what we're learning and applying it in more difficult problem solving ways. Also, same thing I said about the homework is that it shouldn't really be taking more than half an hour a night. Now, I know in this remote setting, we have not done homework. So I'm assuming if we're talking back in the classroom, we're expecting about half an hour a night. From that Algebra 1 honors, there are a lot of different ways that you could progress throughout high schools, but one of them would just be to follow the honors track all the way through from there. So you would end up in Algebra 2 honors as an 11th grader, and then in 12th grade, pre-calculus honors, and you could also take AP statistics. Same thing kind of for Algebra 1 following that pattern. There is an option if you kind of look at this bottom row here to take geometry and Algebra 2 at the same time during 10th grade. And the reason for doing that would be so that you end up in calculus as a senior. So it's kind of like you can do those two classes concurrently because Algebra 2 doesn't necessarily rely upon geometry skills. And then take pre-calculus as a junior. So you'd be sort of up in that second row here, pre-calculus as a junior and calculus as a senior. Our CP classes for Algebra 1 are split into Part A and Part B. But that essentially, if you follow through the full year, is just a full year Algebra 1 course at the CP level. It's broken into semesters so that we have the ability, if a student is struggling, for them to kind of start over the year for second semester, or if students are coming new to the school at the beginning of second semester, that we have somewhere to start them. But traditionally, if you're starting the beginning of the year and being successful in Algebra 1 CP, you would just follow through that whole year through both semesters. And that path is very similar to what it is for ACP, that you would take geometry as a sophomore, Algebra 2 as a junior, and then there are a whole bunch of semester electives that we can take as a senior or a junior, actually, when we get to that point. So everybody on those paths will be in a good place for the MCAS exam as sophomores, for the SAT or ACT as juniors. So all of these trajectories put us in that spot. There are some ninth graders, and when I say some, it's probably 10 to 15, who end up kind of in a real advanced track and taking Algebra 2 as ninth graders. To do that, we really, really suggest that you have taken a formal geometry class before you get to the high school, so that you're not just saying, well, I'm really good at math, so I'm going to skip geometry. Our highest recommendation is that you have taken a geometry class, whether it's online, and done that. And again, this is a pretty rare situation where a student is ready for Algebra 2 as a 10th grader, or as a ninth grader, excuse me. In that setting, then you would kind of follow from where 10th grade is. So your ninth grade would be Algebra 2, 10th pre-calculus, junior year calculus, and then those students typically do an independent study as seniors. So again, this should be a really rare occasion, and with some communication with me and your middle school teachers, et cetera. Other things that we have are, we have a problem solving class, which is an elective, which is great for all students. We'll run that hopefully at the ACP and CP level, and that is for all grades. So we do things in there like puzzles, logic puzzles. They did some like playing chess this year. Just kind of a lot of like really fun math stuff that sort of involves problem solving and cooperative group work. And then most of our computer science classes are housed also in the math department. So if we look down where it says computer science electives, as a freshman, you can take C++, programming in C++, Part 1 and Part 2. Those are honors classes. And taking that full year, those are split up into 2 semester courses. Taking that full year course readies you to take AP Computer Science. So you can take AP Computer Science as early as 10th grade if you've finished both of those other computer science electives. So C++ Part 1 and 2. That can all be done sort of at any time. So we have a lot of students who take part one freshman or sophomore year, take part two junior year, and take AP CS senior year, however you want to do that. And the other thing, we also have AP Computer Science Principles. This is just something to think about in the future, which will be open to 10th graders and beyond who have completed, I think, who have completed Algebra 1. So that class is sort of a different look at computer science and sort of goes through for instance, like how the internet works, and a different coding language is optional. So it's a really great course, and it's just something to have in the back of your head. It won't be open for ninth graders, but something to have in the back of your head for 10th grade and beyond as another chance to take an AP course, maybe during sophomore year, if before things like get really overloaded with those courses. I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me over email, and I will get back to you. We really look forward to having you all up at FHS. And again, if you have any questions or anything you're wondering about, please don't hesitate to reach out. It's unfortunate that we couldn't do this in person this year, because I do always enjoy meeting the students and parents at this night. So thank you so much for listening, and have a great night. Thank you.